Welcome to This Week in the News here on Zodiak. This is Sibongile. Some of the main stories in the week ending. DPP legislators boycott deliberations in Parliament on Labour Relations Bill. Government passes it. War of words erupted between government and opposition sides on each other's conduct during sitting of Parliament. Zodiak has exclusive access to footage showing poor living conditions for refugees at Dzaleka refugee camp. In sports, Flames give away 2-0 lead to draw against Zimbabwe in COSAFA tournament. My name is Sibongile. Thank you for joining me. We start with news from Parliament. Drama unfolded in Parliament on Wednesday this week when legislators main of Democratic Progressive Party DPP side boycotted deliberations on the controversial Labour Relations Bill. The bill, among other things, gags employees not to go on an industrial action beyond 3 days in a year. The government side passed the controversial bill. Andrew Viano was at Parliament and gave us his report.
There was drama at Parliament when the opposition legislators walked out of parliamentary deliberations in protest against the two bills that the government brought in the House last week. These are Labour Relations Bill and the Employment Bill Amendment, which among others seeks to introduce new laws that will not allow workers or employees to go on strike more than 3 days in a year. If they go beyond 3 days in a year, they will be deducted their wages. So opposition side protested against the introduction of these laws, but because they are few in number, they could not even have a say. At every point that they had to protest using the votes, they lost about 3 times. They have lost about 3 times through the voting processes. So they just decided to walk out of the deliberations. And in their absence, members of parliament, especially from the government side, have passed the controversial bill, Labour Relations Bill, that will not allow workers or employees to go on strike more than 3 days in a year. If they go beyond 3 days in a year, they will be deducted their wages.
And reacting on the matter, legal expert Professor Gaton Kamchedzera and Christon Gambi said the controversial Labour Amendments Bill passed in Parliament can be challenged in court. The bill awaits President Chakwera's assent, and among others, the bill sought to gag employees not to take an industrial action beyond 3 days in a year. Anna Femlamba filed this report.
On Wednesday, Parliament passed the Labour Relations Bill, which among other things empowers employers to deduct wages from striking employees. The bill also gives room for employees to go on an industrial action 3 days only in a year. Passing of the bill has seen resistance from the opposition benches in the August House and some quarters of the society that have described the move as an infringement of the workers' rights. But legal expert Christon Yambi has told Zodiak this morning that despite Parliament passing the law, the Constitution gives room for the matter to be reviewed in court.
The Constitution gives power to the court to review. What essentially means is that the people can take that law to the court so that the court should review it as to whether it agrees with the principle embodied in our Constitution. So once it is found that it's inconsistent, it's not in danger with the Constitution to be declared null and void.
Concurring with Yambi, another legal expert, Professor Gaton Kamchedzera, says those pressed can seek legal intervention.
The citizens would have a right to seek court guidance on the matter. At the moment, because the process is still going on, a court maybe is likely going to say the process hasn't been completed. Maybe the president is going to disagree with what the National Assembly has done.
Meanwhile, President Lazarus Chakwera is yet to assent the passed bill.
And on Friday this week, a war of words erupted between the government and opposition sides on each other's conduct during the just-ended sitting of Parliament. While Leader of the House, Richard Banda, challenged the main opposition DPP to stop politicking during meetings. Leader of Opposition Kondana Nkrumah described Chimwendo's sentiments as unfortunate and political as well. They both spoke at Parliament as Parliament rose Sunday on Friday. Western Guda was there.
Chimwendo Banda claimed that the DPP misinformed Malawians on a number of issues during the budget meeting, the Labour Relations Bill, among others, which sought to bring to a round table employees, workers and unions to iron out differences when misunderstandings come. He said the DPP told Malawians that the bill instead sought to ban strikes, for example, attributing it to party infighting as well as politicking for the sake of it. He added that parliamentary business is national business, which calls for sober participation, hence the need for the party to be united to positively contribute as a strong opposition party.
We want a strong opposition, a united opposition. When they're united, they can sit down, share these bills, scrutinize, have caucuses, come here with one mind. If they comment about these bills when they don't understand, they confuse Malawians.
But leader of opposition Kwagwanji Nkhani has described Chimwendo's sentiments as political as well, saying in its opposition days, the Malawi Congress Party used to boycott deliberations, for example.
You have seen members of parliament boycotting before, not only this time around when you were in opposition. Even when MCP was in opposition, they used to boycott where they thought things are not going well. So it should not be blamed on the opposition side now that they are boycotting, because boycotting something is also a democratic right.
On Thursday, for instance, the DPP legislators boycotted deliberations on the Labour Relations Bill, saying it infringes on the rights of workers. In the recent days, the Democratic Progressive Party has been caught in infighting and leadership wrangles, which is being attributed to the party failing to make a strong opposition. Reporting for Zodiak, I am Western Guta.
And for a detailed analysis on how Parliament has conducted its business for the past 2 months, Winston Kaimira gave us his report.
President Lazarus Chakwera opened the budget meeting of Parliament on 12th of May this year with a speech entitled Accelerating the Change Malawians Fought For. During the meeting, the House passed a 1.995 trillion kwacha national budget. The 2021 to 2022 national budget is planned to run for 9 months as the current government administration changes the fiscal year from July to June to April to March. The budget does not have the funding allocation for COVID-19 vaccines, which members of the opposition said needed to be considered. Later, government disclosed plans to use a World Bank grant to procure the AstraZeneca vaccine. During the period, government presented to the House a number of bills, of which some were deemed to be controversial by some sections of the society. They included the Labour Amendment Bill, which was passed this week amid resistance from a number of bodies that advocate for workers' rights. Another bill which sparked controversy was on constitution amendment to introduce contract hiring of judges. A clause proposing the introduction was removed by legislators on recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament. The House also passed the employment bill, which abolishes tenancy system in the agriculture sector. This is Winston Kaimira reporting for Zodiak.
In the week ending, Zodiak had exclusive access to footage showing poor living conditions for refugees that have been ordered to return to Dzaleka refugee camp. The new arrivals are being kept in tents. A single tent is holding as many as 20 families. Besides lack of space, there is a new COVID-19 challenge at the camp after it confirmed first cases for children. Tani Mibawa was at the camp and gave us this report.
We have concealed
the identity of this refugee woman for fear of reprisals. This woman, together with her husband and 4 kids, are now resident here at Dzaleka refugee camp. They are living in a tent together with over 10 other families. Outside the camp, she lived in a 3-bedroomed house in Lilongwes Area 23 and owned a business supplying alcohol and clothes. The return to the camp has disrupted life, she says.
mwana azigona limodzi ndi abambo ake ngati mwana ali ndi 15 years ali ndi 12 years. Mwana mwina wang'ono amene sana ali ndi zaka ziwiri kapena imodzi ndi miyezi ndiyo ofunika kugona ndi ndani ndi amayi ndi abambo. Koma wa 15 years agone limodzi ndi abambo ake sizogwira.
Government identified one surrounding village and a nearby hill to extend the camp, but that too appears not enough for the 50,000 inhabitants of the camp. Apart from the problem of inadequate space, water is another issue here.
Mavuto ni ambiri zedi, ifori matilira bwera mawa, chama 7 koloko ndio kuti pano mafika 6 koloko uchapa dakarani dakachapa kamba kuti anthu ndiwo ochuluka kuti tipeze madzi apa timavutika kwambiri.
During our visit to the camp, we confirmed that the camp has registered 11 COVID-19 cases of children. These are first known cases in children. These children are aged between 5 and 16, and they are all at the camp's isolation center. Clinical officer in charge for the isolation unit, Henry Ladi, says, however, none of the children have severe signs of the disease. The children were in a group of families that arrived at the camp following the government directive for all refugees living outside the camp to return to camp. Government says the order was on security grounds. A case on that matter is back in court later this week.
You're watching This Week in the News on Zodiac. We still have more to come. Stay with us.
We all start differently, but we can all start with the strongest protection. Because some start early, others start late. Some from little homes, others from big ones. Some start together, or all on their own.
It doesn't matter how you start, as long as you start strong. With new Colgate's Maximum Cavity Protection. Now with fluoride plus arginine for 4 times more strengthening power. So that you can give them the strongest start to their day. Colgate. Start strong, stay strong.
Welcome back. The headlines as we continue This Week in the News. DPP legislators boycott deliberations in Parliament on Labour Relations Bill. Government passes it. War of words erupted between government and opposition sides on each other's conduct during sitting of Parliament. Zodiak has exclusive access to footage showing poor living conditions for refugees at Dzaleka refugee camp. In sports, Flames give away 2-0 lead to draw against Zimbabwe in COSAFA tournament. Moving on with the news. On Wednesday, in the week ending, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 introduced new measures against the third wave of the pandemic in the country. Announcing the measures in Lilongwe, Minister of Health Kumbize Chiponda said the measures have been reintroduced due to the rising cases of COVID-19 in the country. Among other measures are a curfew starting from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. and people should work from home, public events limited to 50 people, dinners and restaurants are encouraged to serve only takeaway foods, while bars should open from 2 p.m. and close at 10 p.m. Zule Kananguo filed this report. The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has instructed the general public to adhere to all new COVID-19 measures, such as working in shifts and, where possible, hold meetings virtually, with all employees at high risk working from home. Bar owners have also been instructed to operate for 8 hours from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., while takeaways and restaurants, they should serve food from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Minister of Health Kumbize Chiponda said capacity for all commuter vehicles have been reduced by 50%, public gatherings reduced to 50 from 100 people, and outdoor events 100 people from 250. She further said not more than 10 people should congregate in the funeral home, while vigils have now been banned and burials should take place within 48 hours of the death. In sports, the Presidential Task Force says only 100 people, including players and officials, should meet in one place with no spectators. But schools will remain open while they adhere to all COVID-19 preventive measures with quarantine facilities at each school. The new measures are effective this Friday, 9th July 2021. In the weekend, government issued a 30-day ultimatum to motorbike taxi operators to register their motorbikes and buy helmets before they resume their business in the country. Minister of Homeland Security Richard Chimwendo said, as it stands, police shall from next week release about 5,000 motorcycles which were confiscated from the operators. He said government has identified a firm to train motorcycle operators at a subsidized fee of 20,000 kwacha from 150,000 kwacha. Winston Kaimira filed this report.
According to Minister of Homeland Security Richard Chimwendo, government will conduct trainings for motorcycle taxi operators who do not have licenses. He said the move aims at reducing road accidents. The minister said a memorandum of understanding shall be signed early next week for a private firm to conduct the training through the Ministry of Transport. The Homeland Security Minister said about 5,000 motorcycles which were confiscated for failure to abide by traffic rules and regulations will be given back to the operators. He said all motorcycle riders shall be required to obtain licenses and crash helmets within 30 days. Legislators from both government and opposition commended government for the move. And during the Thursday morning parliamentary proceedings, legislators asked questions to various government ministries. During the question and answer session, Minister of Agriculture Lobin Lowe disclosed that the management of deep tanks in livestock production is now decentralized to local councils to ensure farmers have easy access to necessary support. Other questions went to Ministries of Health, Gender and Natural Resources. This is Winston Kaimira reporting for Zodiak.
It was observed in the weekending that lack of sound policy to regulate the local construction industry is said to be fueling an influx of uncertified personnel in the industry, resulting in poor standards. Speaking at the Research Agenda Validation Workshop in Nilongo Wednesday, National Construction Industry Council NCIC Training and Research Director Nima Kadaluka acknowledged that the sector is struggling to improve in the absence of the policy document to enforce regulations governing the industry. Rescombe filed this report.
A recent research which the National Construction Industry Council conducted through the engagement of a team of researchers from Rwanda revealed that poor workmanship in the construction industry is largely being fueled by influx of uncertified personnel in the industry. Engineer Patsani Kumambala says most of the uncertified personnel are from local universities and colleges who do not undergo professional trainings to be duly certified for the job because of missing sound policies to regulate the industry. He said this is a threat to the industry as it results into low-quality construction work, which is impacting on the growth of the sector and promoting depletion of natural resources. Engineer Kumambala says the study also revealed that the industry is using old technologies and standards, making it difficult on the international market.
Most of the graduates that are working out there without going through the proper channel. That is, you go, if you're an architect, you're supposed to qualify as an architect. So you work under a qualified architect for 2 years and qualify as a qualified architect. As similar as an engineer, you're supposed to work under a qualified engineer and qualify as a qualified engineer who is supposed to practice out there.
NCIC Training and Research Director Nema Kadaluka has acknowledged serious gaps in the regulation of the industry, which is costing the government and individuals huge sums of money. She said the council is therefore developing a guide for acceptable standards in all activities in the industry.
The research agenda is going to give us more information in terms of how we should regulate the industry. So the topics or the themes that have been mentioned in the research agenda are going to guide us to find more information in terms of regulating the industry so that we control the issues that are coming out as challenges in the industry.
Meanwhile, NCIC is soliciting views from stakeholders on the research priority areas. This is Grace Kombe for Zodiac.
On Friday this week, Malawi Electoral Commission MEC observed that low voter turnout in local polls by elections is compromising efforts of developing a vibrant local government service to necessitate meaningful development. MEC Commissioner responsible for media and civic education, Francis Kasaira, said this in Lilongwe when handling over polling materials for June 29th by-elections to Parliament. Meanwhile, political think tank Professor Blessings Chinsinga feels people are no longer benefiting from councillors, hence low voter turnout in the recent local government by-elections. Andrew Viano filed this report.
In the just-ended June 29 by-elections, except in Karabe Central constituency, where a high turnout was registered, voter apathy reared its ugly head in 2 local government by-elections in Blantyre and in Sanje. In Blantyre's Chikwembere ward, many voters shunned the poll, as out of 17,959 registered voters, slightly over 3,000 turned up for voting. The case was not any different in Nsanje Lalanje ward, where 17,937 registered, but only 6,935 voters turned up. The situation has sent a panic button to Malawi Electoral Commission MEC, which is set to roll out nationwide civic education in an effort to reverse the never-ending voter apathy. MEC Commissioner Francis Kasaila said at the handover ceremony of electoral materials to Parliament that levels of apathy are very deplorable.
People value their representatives at Parliament more than their representatives at council level, and therefore they don't see the edge to go out and vote for councillors, more especially when it's a by-election. I'm sure over time we should be able to improve. As a commission, we have a strategy which we'll be rolling out a few months' time to see how best we can encourage our people every time participate in this very important undertaking.
University of Malawi political expert Professor Blessings Chinsinga says Malawians have not benefited from councillors, hence their low turnout in elections.
Local governments are only entitled to 1% of the total national budget. And if we look at the statistics, since 2000, even this 1% has never been allocated to local government. It has always been less than 1%. And yet, 80% of Malawians live in rural areas.
Meanwhile, Parliament's Principal Administrative Officer, Elton Banda, says the materials will be kept safe for records in the near future.
The materials will be kept in a safe and secure place. And in addition to the safe place, they will be manned by state security. The Malawi Police Security will be guarding these documents 24 hours.
On June 29, MEC conducted by-elections in Karabe Central, Chikwembere ward in Blantyre and Lalanje ward in Nsanje, where only 40% of registered voters turned out for the elections.
We now go to sports news. On Friday, the Malawi national football, the Flames, gave away a 2-0 lead to draw 2-0 against Zimbabwe in the COSAFA tournament. The match was played at Wolves Park in South Africa Friday. Bright Kanyama gave us this report.
Malawi national team the Flames gave away a 2-0 lead to draw 2-0 against Zimbabwe in their opening match of the 2021 COSAFA Cup, which is being played in South Africa. Kuda Mibawa put the Flames in the lead with a sublime finish before Kwagwanji scored a second goal for the Flames just 5 minutes in the second half. Zimbabwe started responding through Blessings Sarupinda before leveling the scoreline in the 79th minute through Patrick Ben Musaka for the two teams to share the spoils in Group B. Meke Mwase handed Mark Foja and Vidumbiko Kumwenda their first starts. Just like in previous COSAFA Cup competitions, the spirit of conceding with less than 10 minutes to play haunted the Flames, who saw their 2-0 lead being cut to 2-2. Mwase made some tactical changes to his side, but they never bared the desired results. In a post-match interview, Flames coach Meke Mwase told journalists that loss of concentration towards the late minutes of the game cost them maximum points, but said they have now turned their focus to the next assignment against Mozambique, slated for Sunday at Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium. A victory over the Warriors would have seen Malawi beating Zimbabwe for the first time in the competition's history, but they will have to wait for another opportunity to present itself for the Flames to achieve that. The draw means the Flames are now sitting on 4th position on the group standings with 1 point. Only the 2 teams will qualify to the semi-finals of the competition from a group of 5 teams. For Zodiak, this is Bright Kanyama.
That's all we had time for in This Week in the News. A reminder of some of the top stories before we leave you. DPP legislators boycott deliberations in Parliament on Labour Relations Bill. Government passes it. War of words erupted between government and opposition sides on each other's conduct during sitting of Parliament. Zodiak has exclusive access to footage showing poor living conditions for refugees at Dzaleka refugee camp. In sports news, Flames give away 2-0 lead to draw against Zimbabwe in COSAFA tournament. Visit our website for more news. Thank you for watching. This is Sibongile Ziambo. Goodbye.
Malawi at 57 promotion. Celebrate Malawi's independence with Smart Realtors Company in the Malawi at 57 promotion.